Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. This is the ninth video of the Decoding Martial Proverb series. After today's video, I will pause this series for a while. At the same time, I'm preparing another new series. Hopefully, the new video series will bring some positive experience in the future. So please stay tuned. Recently, I had a brief conversation with one of our community members, Mr. Ken McCarthy, an American educator and entrepreneur. We talked about different ways to practice martial art at different ages. Mr. McCarthy has been practicing internal martial art for decades. I realized that we have the same understanding on this topic. I have frequently thought about how to choose the right approach to practice with respect to age. I think it is worthwhile to talk about it in today's video. So, the first proverb in today's video is 老要张狂，少要稳, or the elders should be insolent and the youth should be steady. Be careful here that the word insolent is just a metaphorical expression instead of the original English meaning. I will explain it later in this video. The second proverb is 三层尽力明暗化, or three levels of power, obvious, hidden, and neutralizing. This is a Xingyi proverb expressing an important concept of the type of power in Xingyi. Let's get started. About 400 years ago, during the Ming Dynasty, Hong Zhicheng published a book by the name Cai Gen Tan. Hong was not that well known in Chinese history, but his book, Cai Gen Tan, has been a lot of interest and popularity in the last 4 decades. Cai means vegetables or green food. Gen means roots of plants. Tan means conversation or discourse. So, together, Cai Gen Tan implies that one has to choose their ways of life as through the vegetable route in order to accomplish anything. In other words, one has gone through hardships can accomplish anything. This book promotes ideas from the 3 classic teachings of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, and as a result, it becomes an important document for Chinese moral instruction and self-cultivation. The language used in this book is very beautiful as well. I read Cai Gen Tan when I was a teenager. Back then, such books were not popular at all in mainland China due to socio-political reasons. The first copy I had was printed in Taiwan, which I received from a friend of mine since his relatives lived in Taiwan. From then on, I have read this book many times. By the way, this book has nothing to do with martial art, but still, I would like to talk about this book before introducing the martial proverb. In this book, the author said that with regards to younger people, we don't worry about their decisiveness, but very often they tend to be reckless and inconsiderate, so they should be more steady. While older people are mature and we do not worry about their steadiness, but rather lack of courage to undertake new tasks. So, older people should be more motivated and avoid laziness. In other words, people would use 老要张狂，少要稳, or the elders should be insolent and the youth should be steady. As a proverb to express the same meaning. So, how does this proverb apply to martial training? This is the first topic for today. Like I mentioned in the previous videos, basically there are two types of martial training approaches in terms of body motion. One is a more dynamic approach and the other one is a more static approach. Of course, one should balance the two approaches while training. However, is the same training approach and intensity advisable to people of all ages? If not, then how do you balance dynamic and static practice? There are important questions we will be discussing today. The most commonly applied method is that younger people should apply a more dynamic approach since they typically have more energy, while older people should adopt a more static approach since their body is not as flexible as in their youth and they typically have less energy. So, is this a good approach? Well, based on my experience, this is the totally wrong approach. My approach is the total opposite, in that younger people should focus more on the static practice, while older people should adapt a more dynamic approach in training. Some people may think this approach to be against nature, since Taoist art should respect nature and not go against nature. My first response to this argument is that we have to define what nature is before we can talk about following or opposing it. In ancient Chinese culture, the term nature was not about anything external, outside, such as river, mountain, or sky. Nature used to mean anything inside ourselves, including the mind and spirit. In Taoist terms, nature is the real self or the primordial spirit. On the other hand, entities like rivers and mountains were categorized as external object or 外物. So, choosing the dynamic or static approach in training has nothing to do with the concept of nature. Very often, the term nature is misinterpreted, and as a result, it has unfortunately become a term that people perceive to be something external, which is the opposite of reality. It is much easier for younger people to focus on physical movement and take advantage of their physical strength instead of working on other important aspects such as the mind or the coordination between the mind and physical body, which can become a major reason for slow progress in practice. Even though the terms mind and mind-body relationships are very prevalent in the community, the precise and accurate method of applying this method in training is neither well documented nor well emphasized. Even worse, many practitioners call their sloppy practice integration of mind and body, thus giving it a bad reputation. So, what is the solution? Well, my teaching experience tells me that younger people should practice more stance, slow motion in a low posture stance, so that they will have the time to train their mind in practice. More importantly, I'd like to emphasize the importance of focusing on the dynamic approach to practitioners in their 70s or older. A very common misunderstanding is for seniors to take a more static approach, which is totally wrong based on my teaching experience and personal observation. Think about this. As you get older, your mobility, flexibility, and energy level will not be at the same level as in your younger days. If you simply adopt the so-called natural way of focusing on the static approach, such as holding stance for prolonged period and relaxing, then it will not just hinder the improvement of your mobility and flexibility, but will very likely also be counterproductive to your practice. I have witnessed many successful examples of practitioners in their senior years that focused on the dynamic approach toward martial art practice and were able to demonstrate a high level of practice regardless of their age. These include my own grandfather, Yang Qinglin, as well as many of my teachers. To give you another example, one of my Tai Chi teacher, Master Ma Hong, kept improving his Tai Chi skills even in his senior years. In Master Ma Hong's case, the word senior would be highly subjective. What I mean here is that he began his Tai Chi practice relatively late in his life. So, if you watch his Tai Chi demonstration from back when he was in his 60s, his practice was not that great. But if you watch his Tai Chi routine demonstration from his 70s, I'm sure you can see his progress. So, please think about it. What changed from his 60s to his 70s? The answer is very simple. He kept practicing, improving, and teaching his students. Instead of watering down the form to suit his age and lowering the quality, he maintained the same level of intensity of practice and made himself to be one of the Tai Chi masters of his time. His success story in practice tells us that even in our senior years, we can still make progress in practice, which is one of the beautiful and invaluable elements of a Chinese internal style practice. It was not their age which automatically make them great. It was their continued practice and adaptation of a practice approach to suit their age and physical conditions which made them great. This is why I always promote the idea that once you reach a certain age, let's say 70 years, you should adopt a more dynamic approach to practice, or at least add dynamic elements in your practice. You will be surprised to see your physical potential in practice. You may say that I have not reached that age yet, but whatever I said just now is based on my first-hand observation, research, and learning experience from my teachers. Also, let's quickly recall the discussion on old man form that I talked about in a prior video. Link is in the description. In that video, I mentioned the old man form was a result of wrong posture caused by the constant loss of flexibility and mobility with age. To prevent this, you should keep working on your body strength, posture, and related aspects so that you can maintain the right body structure even in your senior years. Now, let's go back to the first proverb, 老要张狂，少要稳. This proverb originally had nothing to do with martial art practice. About 10 years ago, while teaching a few people who were well in their senior years, I found that this proverb could also be applied to martial training by interpreting it in a martial context. Ever since, I have been using this expression to emphasize the importance of strength training and the dynamic approach in practice for older people. Furthermore, unfortunately, many societies today tend to look down upon senior people, and in other societies where older people have traditionally been given a lot of respect are starting to follow this unfortunate trend as well. Nobody is exempt from the process of aging. Many people feel unhappy thinking about old age. I too have felt the same before, though only for a very short period of time. But not anymore. I will consider myself fortunate to be a future senior citizen. I believe that as long as I can keep working on the art and adjust my practice to suit my age and physical conditions like I mentioned before, I will be able to maintain physical and mental strength in my senior years, and so can you. So, if you are in your younger years, especially under 30, please focus more on the static approach in practice, such as 站桩, slow motion exercise, and so on. However, if you are close to or already in your senior years, then you should add more dynamic elements in practice. If you are anywhere between 30 to 70 years old, I recommend a mix of a static and dynamic approach with a gradual shift toward the dynamic approach as your age. This is the real balance between the dynamic and the static approaches in martial training. Demonstration. Today, I'd like to demonstrate a small exercise designed to improve flexibility for martial artists in their senior years, although people of any age can practice it and benefit from it. This is a very simple exercise, but can help you improve your flexibility and mobility at certain age. So, let's say if in the beginning, if we start at just this kind of natural posture, then our right hand move under to the left arm, and then step inward. Then for the second movement, what we do is we extend the chest. At the same time, left foot make circle. Okay, extend. Then right palm move under the left arm like we did before. Then inhale, extend the chest. Then relax, inserting motion. Then extend. Then cross the arm, extend. Okay. You can repeat this many times, but be careful here. There's few important points here. First, when the right palm move under the left arm, then body relax. Then when you extend, inhale and extend the chest as much as you can. And then palm extend to the end. Then relax. Now inhale and extend again. Okay. So by practicing this movement, you will see the body change with time. Now let's talk about the second proverb. The second proverb is 三层尽力明暗化, or 3 levels of power, obvious, hidden, and neutralizing. If you practice Xingyi, it is essential for you to understand this concept. So let's discuss it today. The 3-level power concept was believed to be created by the second generation of Xingyi practitioners. Many masters belonging to the second generations of Xingyi, including Liu Qilan, Guo Yunshen, were among the first to talk about this proverb in their teaching. But it is hard to determine the creator of this proverb. Later generations of Xingyi practitioners, including Li Cunyi, Sun Lutang, and Xue Dian, talked about this concept as well. In my opinion, among those Xingyi masters, Li Cunyi's explanation is the most detailed. So I will explain this proverb based on Li Cunyi's teaching. This proverb introduced an important Xingyi concept, which is three-level power, which is Ming or obvious, An or hidden, and Hua or neutralizing. These three types of power are, in fact, three different characteristics of power training or focus at different stages of practice in Xingyi. Even though we cannot distinguish a power solely on these three terms, since there's more to it than meets the eye, still it can help us understand the nature of a different type of power on a deeper level. This is why all of the Xingyi practitioners must know this term in order to practice this style correctly. To understand the obvious, hidden, and neutralizing power, we have to know two more terms used to describe power. They are Gangjin or hard power and Roujin or soft power. The differences between hard power and soft power are based on the nature of the power and their application on the opponent, or the experience of the opponents who received the attack executed by those two types of powers. Visually speaking, any power that looks hard is considered as hard power or Gangjin. Any power that looks flexible is considered as soft power. Now, let's talk about hard power, soft power, and the three-level power concept together. According to Li Cunyi's teaching, Gangjin or hard power includes different types of power, including obvious hard power and hidden hard power, while Roujin or soft power include obvious hard soft power and hidden soft power. Now, let's talk about each of them. What is obvious hard power? It is the power in which the hardness is obvious and noticeable to others. For example, when someone grabs you and with the obvious hard power, you will feel that the power is very strong and it seems that it goes to our bones. As for the hidden hard power, it seems nothing special about the power in application. However, the person with the hidden hard power grabs you, you would feel the impact even deeper than with obvious hard power. So, external softness with internal strength is the nature of the hidden hard power. Obvious soft power seems not very powerful, but the movement is very smooth without any stiffness. In other words, light and flexible as a feather. However, when the practitioners use obvious soft power on the opponent may feel that the center of the power is not identifiable. Softness and flexibility are the characteristics of obvious soft power. Obvious soft power is the result of internal strength achieved through practice. The hidden soft power is different. Practitioners possessing hidden soft power may appear very strong and solid. However, when you attack them, you will notice that the nature of their force is very flexible and that's also very hard to identify the center of their power. Li Cunyi called this type of approach 暗柔 or hidden soft power. As for the neutralizing power, there is no soft or hard neutralizing power at all. It is a higher level of practice, and the practitioners focus on the neutralizing power, which can be used to neutralize the attack initiated by the opponents. People often describe the experience of attacking a practitioner that can issue neutralizing power to be akin to throwing a stone into the ocean. In other words, the opponent's attack was neutralized or rendered useless by the neutralizing power. Now that you know about the obvious, hidden, and the neutralizing power, you may be curious how exactly to practice and cultivate these three types of powers. Well, the answer is simple. You have to follow the 3 stages of practice and work on these 3 stages step by step. Let me explain. In the very early stage of your Xingyi practice, you should focus on your body structure, especially pay attention to the coordinations between different parts of the body. Gradually, your stiff force will disappear and your body will become stronger. Then, with time, each of your movements will meet the requirements of the Xingyi standard. With that, you will have mastered the Fa Li basics. Then you can say that you get the Mingjin or obvious power. After achieving the obvious hard power level, you can focus on the practice of the obvious soft power. Your focus will gradually change from external to internal. Instead of focusing on the mechanical and structural coordination between different body parts, you will focus on the coordination between the power generated by different parts of the body. I have explained this concept in a prior Xingyi video. Link is in the description. Again, this practice is easier said than done. So you need to understand the concept first and constantly apply it to your practice to achieve good results. After years of practicing Ming and Anjin, you may enter the Huajin or neutralizing power stage. At this stage, practice becomes more natural. The objective of the practice at this stage is to be able to not only neutralize an incoming attack, but also redirect the incoming attack power back to the opponent. This is a high-level practice indeed. Based on personal practice and teaching experience, it is very easy to achieve the Mingjin or obvious power level. What you need to do is to pay attention to every small detail, and with time, you will reach there. My suggestion to most Xingyi practitioners is to make a lot of effort on the Mingjin practice, because according to the Xingyi concept, the pinnacle of Mingjin will also be the starting point of the Anjin. Unfortunately, many Xingyi practitioners just skip this stage and move on to the next level too fast, thus ending up with a weak foundation. As a result, their so-called hidden power is rather just an empty power or absent power. Hidden power is built upon the mastery of the obvious power. You cannot cultivate hidden power without cultivating obvious power first. I cannot emphasize this enough. Again, the key point here is that you have to master the obvious power practice first and organically progress to the next stage. To see a demonstration of Mingjin or obvious power, check out my Xingyi video titled Xingyi Quan 5 Elements and Linking Form. Link is in the description. I demonstrate the movement in the video specifically to visually emphasize Mingjin or obvious power. When you reach the Anjin or hidden power stage, the key issue is to slow down the speed of your practice and pay attention to the internal coordination between parts of the body as well as the transition between movements. I have also posted another Xingyi video on YouTube to demonstrate Anjin. Again, you should not rush to practice hidden power or you may never ever reach it. Instead, let the hidden power organically evolve from the obvious power. So, that was a brief explanation of the 3 stages of power training in Xingyi. Please keep in mind that it is not necessary to distinguish between the different type of power in the early stage of your Xingyi practice. But as you progress to a higher level, it will become necessary. Now, you may be curious if Tai Chi and Bagua have similar concepts to distinguish between type of power. Tai Chi and Bagua focus more on Anjin and Huajin with little to no emphasis on Mingjin compared to Xingyi. This is why I always say that Tai Chi and Bagua are much more difficult in terms of achieving similar level of power generation in practice, since these two styles do not have the same approach as Xingyi's Mingjin or obvious power practice. At first glance, the lack of focus on Mingjin may seem to be an advantage of Tai Chi and Bagua, but in reality, it is a weakness as it requires a new way of practice in order to achieve equivalent levels of power generation from Xingyi practice. I will explain this topic more in the future. In the interest of time, let's leave it at that for today. Takeaways. In today's video, I talked about 2 main proverbs. The first one was 老要张狂，少要稳, or the elders should be insolent and the youth should be steady. This proverb had no prior connections to martial art practice, but I recently started applying it to describe changes in the nature of practice based on the practitioner's age. 三层尽力，明暗化, or 3 levels of power: obvious, hidden, and neutralizing. You should always practice obvious power first, then naturally progress to practicing hidden and neutralizing powers. So, that's in today's video. Thank you for watching, see you next time, and enjoy your practice.